Yes, this is Professor Taj Al Khazin addressing you from Ottawa, Canada. Today is July 9th, and it is the National Day of South Sudan. Congratulations. And President Salva Kiir has addressed the nation with a 4-page address, quite comprehensive. He also touched on the issue of Sudan, and I wish if he had given that a little bit more time. It is an issue. Sudan is an issue of great importance to South Sudan. I am addressing you as founder of the Sudan Crisis Outreach and Advocacy Canada, SCOAC, and we have a informative website. And now we are in theme number 2, South Kordofan, Blue Nile, and the dirty games of Abdulaziz Hilu. The intervention of President Kiir and South Sudan from lip service to action. And I will factor in oil passage of 170,000 barrels per day, and South Sudan political and moral support for Sudan in this delicate time. And this message will be recorded, and then it will be developed into a webinar, into a YouTube, and it will be shared with the wider population. At the top here, you will see our website, and it is a new website, but it has very valuable material. It has 13 YouTubes in Arabic, 5 YouTubes in English. It has a good number of documents and information, both in English and in Arabic. So as and when you have the time and you get the YouTube, you can actually copy the website and go into it every now and then to see what is new. And I have included some information in the website about the Sud and the Nile waters in South Sudan, because there is quite a bit of commonality between issues of the Nile between Sudan and South Sudan. Also now there is a serious problem of the weeds, and the weeds have actually drifted down, and they blocked the railway bridge on the White Nile that leads to Kosti, from Rabak to Kosti. That's serious, because all the trains going to the west, they have to go through that track. And if the weeds get to Jabal Awliya, we're going to have a serious problem. There is a small turbine there. I think it's about 5 megawatt, but we don't want damage to happen to a dam. The website will be enriched as we go along. Many people are now interested in what we are doing. This theme, I have rolled out the theme into these 10 points, which will form the headings for our engagement with you today. The historical narrative of South Kordofan, the historical narrative of the Blue Nile, factoring in Abyei, oil and South Kordofan, tribes of South Kordofan, importance of Roseries Dam and the Diem station in Ethiopia, Gumuz Beni Shangul, indigenous and migrant population, South Sudan, President Kiir observing good neighborliness with Sudan. He is doing a good job. I hope that all the news that I hear are true. And I will factor in Museveni and the trip to Uganda. South Kordofan is bordering Unity State, which is a major producer of oil in South Sudan. It also borders Warab state, which is the homeland of President Kiir, northern Bahr al-Ghazal, and it borders, Abyei is around there, and it borders, uh, I thought there was another one. But the Sud, the evaporation from the Sud is responsible or is a factor for quite a bit of rains in South Kordofan. There are some lakes because of that. Abyei that was never resolved through the CPA is very close there. And if it is in Sudan, it will be there. If it's in South Sudan, it will be in unity. In 1905, Sultan Deng Majok, with wisdom at that time, probably not aware of the ramifications, he decided that he wants to annex Abyei to the north because of the services. And Abyei falls within the Muglat Basin where there is oil. A lot of it has been taken out. It is also bordering northern Kordofan state and Nuhud, where the Hamar is, the capital of the Hamar. It has Al Ubaid. It is bordering South Darfur state, Niala, Dien, and Radom. It's bordering the White Nile state, Kosti, Rabak, Jabalain, and others. And in South Kordofan, we have Kauda and we have Abdulaziz Al Hilu and his forces. It has an airport. South to it, you have Jawahara, you have Talo, you have Lono, and other small villages, but there is no development since it has been occupied by Abdulaziz Al-Hilu and his so-called SPLM, SPLA North. Well, the SPLM, SPLA was South Sudan, and South Sudan separated. Why bring it to the north? They don't want to come. South Kordofan had special self-rule, but it was torpedoed by Abdulaziz Al-Hilu, and fighting erupted, and the structure that was there was completely demolished. Those from the Nuba Mountains, including from South Kordofan, who joined the SPLA and fought hard with them. I mean, Abdulaziz Al-Hilu was in charge of, he was the gunner. He was the main leader in charge or commander in charge of the heavy guns. That's why he cannot hear very well now. Uh, when South Sudan got its independence, I mean, they were left out in the cold. And that's why they scattered in those areas, very remote areas. So were the numerous Sudanese from the north as well, Abdulaziz Khalid and others. We don't want to mention a lot of them. Yasser Arman is one of them, and hosts of people who were just dropped like a hot potato and given nothing more than lip service now. And then fresh fighting erupted between Al-Hilu, and they sliced between Al-Hilu and Al-Malik Agar, and they sliced those areas between the two of them. One took the southern Blue Nile and one took southern Kordofan. And Al-Hilu is still supported by his old colleagues from the SPLA, SPLM in Juba. And South Sudan is his current lifeline, and that's why whatever Salva Kiir will command him to do, he has no option but to oblige. Uh, I think he's back now after Salva Kiir stopped him. He's back from attacking the garrisons of the armed forces. As for the Blue Nile, it is 1.4 million people, the population. During the 21 years war between South Sudan and the North, SPLM, SPLA, and the North, South Blue Nile in particular changed hands several times, depending on the concentration of the activities. But all through the 21 years, it was the southern parts were unsettled. And then there was a very bloody split event in 2017 after the formation in 2011 and the secession of South Sudan with 98.83. There was a bloody split between Malik Agar and Abdulaziz al-Hilu, and each of them now has his own forces. Probably Hilu has more forces than Malik Agar. Being in disarray, the Blue Nile SPLA was going into oblivion. I don't think they have any existence now. And now their leader is the deputy of General Al Burhan. The tribes of the Blue Nile are Ngasana, who are the indigenes of the area, the Falata, the Hamaj, and the Hausa. And the Hausa are migrants coming from northern Nigeria. The unrest between the Ngasana and the Hausa of northern Nigeria claimed quite a lot of lives and damage of property, and the situation is still tense. Some of the indigenes, they don't like the migrant people. They feel that they have the right to the land. And the issue of land is very strong in Sudan historically. The issue of hawakir, or the allocation of land, was a very important element of hegemonic structures and gaining loyalty. The problem with Al-Hilu and Malik Agar and others, they go for governance before they go for reconciliation. When you have got conflicts, level 4 conflicts, as we have in Sudan now, going for governance is certainly not the right choice. And the ugly man, Volker Perses, the horrible, ignorant man, Perses, that's what he did. He was commissioned to come and help, and all he did, I don't know for whatever reason, for whatever objectives, he turns around and he dumps his basic mandate and he goes for forming governance in Sudan the way he thinks is right. European mentality, colonialist mentality, stupid person mentality. And now he's in Nairobi and he's still meddling. He's still meddling in the issues. I have got concrete information that he is the one who facilitated the assembly of Silik, Yasser Arman, Nasruddin, Hajar, and the others. And that they met in Nairobi first before they went to Kampala. For heaven's sake, I mean, somebody has got to stop him. And if the other idiot, the Portuguese, who's the Secretary General of the UN, if he does not stop him, somebody has got to stop him. If I were Burhan, I will withdraw my ambassador from Nairobi right now, and I will kick out the Kenyan ambassador wherever he is. So the name of the game really now is to go for mediation rather than to go for governance. And let me take you a little bit deeper. Let me take you to Roseries Dam, which is in the Blue Nile. It is our main dam, which is in the Blue Nile. It was built with 68 meters height, and then the height was elevated to 78 meters, and naturally this will increase the production of hydropower and will increase the storage for irrigation. And that was done in 2013. It was opened in 1966. The installed capacity total of megawatts of the turbines is 280 megawatts. It is our main other dam after Marawi. Uh, Siltation is a very big problem. The silt deposits in the reservoir, and of course, it reduces the storage capacity, among other problems. The output now is not really known. I don't have any exact figures, reliable figures, but it is certainly not 280 megawatts. Coupled to that, there is the Diem station, Dal Ya Mim in Arabic, Diem in English. It is in Ethiopia, and it is the first reliable gauge of the Nile flow. Once you leave Lake Tana, and now once you leave the GERD, Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And it acts as the early warning for Roseries and the engineers in the dam, because that gauge tells us the level of water coming, and they can quantify that water and consequently decide to open or close the gates and how to deal with the turbines and so on. So the whole operation really, this is an early warning, facilitating and anticipating what is happening to the water before it reaches the areas. Not only that, downstream we have got Sinar Dam as well, which was built in 1925 and became operational in 1929 because the Egyptians since 1925 refused to agree to give Sudan even one drop of water until a memorandum of understanding was signed in London in 1929, and the Brits, with the approval of the Egyptians, who were their partners, gave Sudan 4 billion cubic meters of water. Sorry, it is not 4 million, it is 4 billion. And it was mainly for agriculture. Now there is a small series of turbines producing 14 megawatts. Cooperation with Ethiopia, especially after the Kiir, is going to be critical because now there is a dam, which is not the Roseries dam that is the first dam. There is a first dam in Bahar Dar where the lake pours into, Lake Tana pours into the main Nile. So cooperation and good relations with Ethiopia are vital. Gumuz Beni Shangul until 1898 were part of the sovereign territories of Sudan under Khalifa Abdullah and the Mahdiya, and before that. But Khalifa Abdullah was worried that the British might come and occupy it because it was right on the border, and then invade Omdurman and Khartoum and the Mahdiya territory from the south. So he hinted to Emperor Menelik II that he can take, he can include Gumuz Beni Shangul into his Ethiopian territory. In 1974, during the infamous drought and famine, Colonel Mengistu relocated 250,000 Amharas from Wallo to Gumuz Beni Shangul. The Bertha fought back, but they did their job, but they couldn't stop it. Some of the Amharas went back to Wallo, where they belong, but a number of them remained there. This is a delicate area for Sudan. It is a very porous area of infiltration, both sides, be it for weapons, movement of people, and so on. So the reason why we put it here and we talked about it is an area that we need to watch. South President Kiir has moved from lip service to action, and from silence to positive action. He actually stopped Abdulaziz al-Hilu and instructed him that he cannot fight SAF at this time. But Coming to the war in Khartoum and coming to the miserable, ill-advised, ill-produced efforts of both the IGAD and the AU, two hopeless, useless paper tigers. And I don't know why they assume they have power over Sudan. And during the IGAD meeting in Djibouti, somehow with a conspiracy, the leadership of the proposed committee of heads of state was stripped of President Kiir and given to the rotten Ruto. I mean, he's a criminal. He's a land grabber. He had 4 cases, court cases in his own country before he became president. He was called upon by the International Criminal Court. Sudan does not want to deal with a criminal, period. We don't want him. Beat it. I don't know why he's clinging. And in an interview with France 24, he said Al-Burhan is entitled to his opinion. Go back to school, you idiot. Al-Burhan is not producing opinions, he's producing decisions because he's the president of Sudan. Get lost. But what angered me is if I were President Kiir and he had his advisors with him, Barnaba Marial was with him and others, I would have walked out. It was an insult. Was he consulted? Was General Burhan consulted? Why does a paper tiger, good for nothing organization like the IGAD, assume that they have power and authority over Sudan? They didn't in the past, they don't now, and they will not have in the future. Tomorrow is Monday. Let us see who is going to come to the meeting. Yusuf Izzat, these no good backstabbers. If I were Al-Burhan, I will put them to high treason. They are moving around behind the state, making contacts and connections. To what effect? Why are 2 members of the interim council outside Sudan? While there are 15 states that are completely safe in Sudan? Goodness gracious. After giving Al-Hilu a rebuff, President Kiir did not stop there. His own state, Warab, is welcoming Sudanese immigrants. I know that. I am in contact with people on the ground, and they are receiving their own people coming back with very limited resources, and they are receiving the Sudanese fleeing with the same warmth and protection. Hats off. And they are calling for assistance from the what is called the international community. There is no international community. There is the global north, the global east, and the global south. That's it. Africa and Latin America. Those guys on both sides of the Atlantic, they are a block of their own. And then the Indian Ocean over there, China and India, that's another block over there. So let us not kid ourselves. I was told, but I don't have corroboration yet. I don't have solid proof that President Kiir has refused to meet this delegation of betrayers and backstabbers led by the likes of Yasser Arman. And I am told that he has instructed that they are not to be allowed even to come to Juba. If that is the case, then he's a man who is standing tall, and he's a statesman and a leader who knows where the real interest of his country actually lies. I am also informed that Mr. Tudgat Luwak is now actually leading the initiatives or the changed initiatives by his president, and that now he's the one going between and telling these guys with the neckties and the suits and staying in hotels, and their heads are empty and their hearts are empty, that they cannot come to South Sudan. If that's true, then hats off to Mr. Tutgat Luak as well. I was also told that, and again, by one person, I don't have any further corroboration, that the Fox, Yuri Museveni, has requested Kiir, President Kiir, to come to Uganda and meet with him. And my immediate question to the person was, what are the agenda? A head of state does not leave his office, his home, and his people and go to foreign territory without an agenda and without him approving the agenda. Otherwise, who will accompany him as and when he goes? He needs advisors. The advisors are selected according to the agenda. But another question, it's not really a business of mine, but you know, I have been engaged with South Sudan for 50 years. I have the right. Why does President Kiir go to Museveni? Why doesn't Museveni take his plane and come to him if he wants him? Is there a trap from the Fox? Does he want to put him in a corner? Someone said, Museveni, if he's angry, he may cross the borders. Good. Yeah, he's right. His borders. Will Sudan open the borders? We're safe. Will Ethiopia be sympathetic and open more borders around Gambela? But it is an interesting issue, and I am waiting for the end result of it. The oil, the government says it is 170,000 barrels per day. An insider tells me it is only 135,000. And oil has got two important stations. One is in Hilu, in Kordofan, and one is in Bashair in the Red Sea. The one in Bashair is way out of reach of any traitor, any backstabber, and any thief, and any criminal who is attacking and abusing innocent citizens. But they are in Hilu temporarily. They will be kicked out. Hilu is important because it has the valves. It is connecting the products, the oil products of South Sudan with the main pipeline, which is 100% owned by Sudan. And it ends in Bashair in the Red Sea. So the whole run, other than in Kordofan, is actually in safe lands, and Hemeti and Co. have got no access to it whatsoever. So if Khartoum is angered, no tanker will be loaded in Bashair, and there will be no revenue. And as we said, there are 4 companies producing the oil, 5 or 6 companies buying it for export, but every barrel is going to China, which is a delicate point. It's a delicate point for South Sudan because China is all over the place in South Sudan, creating development, not like the West, lip service. Likewise, they are all over in Sudan, not as much as they used to be because they have not been paid, but they will wait. And I guess that South Sudan needs to identify interdependencies. What do they want from Sudan, and what does Sudan want from them? Sudan has a royalty per barrel, $10, $12, some people say $20, some people say $25, God knows. But it is anywhere between $10 and $20. It is not a fortune, but it is not peanuts. So there is interest there. The Nile waters are another interest. The movement of the people are another interest. There are 3 or 4 million people from South Sudan in the north. And now with this exodus and with this war, also there are hundreds of thousands, if not over that. So when I went to South Sudan in April 2022 for 5 weeks, upon the invitation of the president as lead consultant for the uh, public consultations on issues of water and the Sudan Jungule Canal. We slammed Jungule Canal as a initiative by a foreign country, foreign government, colonial initiative in 1904, and it remains a colonial initiative today. And if I were General Salva Kiir, I would backfill the part that has been dug and wipe it out of the surface of the earth completely. It is not in the interest of the people. They don't have a dime of value coming out of Jungule Canal. It is a shame. It is a shame that Sudan allowed the digging of the canal. And even the draining of Bahar Naam, Sio, Busari, Jur, into Bahar Naam, into Lake No, without studies. The report that I produced with colleagues on the ground was crystal clear that there has got to be feasibility studies, and I identified 9 areas of studies that needs to be done. That went to the president. He approved it. Barnaba Marial presented it. The Council of Ministers voted on that, approving that studies have got to be done. No studies have been done, and the Egyptians are about to dredge Bahar Naam if they have not already started. With all that, I am wondering, in spite of my advice to the president twice and to the politicians in South Sudan, Sudan does not need a one person to deal with the file. You need to create a desk, well-staffed desk with people who are, part of them is a think tank, part of them are practitioners, so that you have collective decision-making, you have different expertise, and only the sound and useful and careful policies come out of that Sudan desk. But not a person, not an office in the presidency or an office in foreign affairs. It won't work, and it will create more problems. Well, I guess I will stop here, and until I see you in SIM number 3 in a few days. God bless.